Hello everybody and welcome back to another tutorial. I am going to be walking you guys through a project today. Here, let me share my screen. Okay, so this is going to be the starter project. It's going to look just like this, and if you go in here, if you're in app.js, you go into notes. And then in here is going to be, how to start your project and the dependencies that you need to install and the icon. This is a really cool project. I'm really excited for this project. We're going to be building lots of components in this project. We're going to build a login form, a sign up, and then we're going to be able to log in with a token. So we're going to have to authenticate. That's going to be a private route when we, here actually, let me just bring the finished website over and I can show you guys some of the functionality that it has. So this is what we're going to be building out. So it has a sign up page and you can sign up, and it has a login and you can log in, and once you log in, this right here, this /pi page, it's not all pies, as you can see. It's lasagna and chocolate chips and pancakes, but I just thought protect the pies was a cute I don't know, heading. So yeah, this is our recipe page, and this is a protected route. You can only get to this route if you are logged in and you have a token inside of your local storage. So if you go here into your application, you can see we have a token. And if we clear this out and we go back to our home route, you can see, well, this will probably work, but if now that we have our token cleared out, if we try to go to -pi page, it's going to push us back to the login because it's a protected route and it needs to see that token in order to log us in. So yeah, I'm going to be showing you guys how to build this app out. So let's get started. I'm super excited. All right, so when you open up the starter code that I'm going to link in the description below the video, it's not going to be named this. It's going to be named Protect the Pies Starter. So when you see that, it's going to look just like I have it here. It's basically going to be empty. It's just going to have this notes file inside, and it's going to have this app.js, and that's pretty much it. And it's going to say have this H1 here that's thanking you guys for watching my video. But let's get started. Let's go to these notes. So here are the steps for the guided project. So step 1 is build an Axios with auth that gets the token. Here, I'm going to shrink this down. It gets the token from the local storage and sets the base URL for the API. So let's do that. Let's go in here and we're going to build a utils file, or folder, not file. And then we're also going to make a components folder. I definitely spelled that wrong. I was like, that doesn't look right. Components. Okay, now that's right. So that still looks wrong. No, that's right. Okay. Anyway, now that we have these components and the utils built out, this is where we're going to start thinking about what goes in our app. So I would suggest, if you guys are following along, definitely read through all of these steps. I'll read through them real quick with you guys. So we're going to have to build an Axios with auth, and then we're going to have to get the token from the local storage and set it to set the base URL for our API. So let's think about that. In our utils, that's where we're going to build our Axios with auth. So let's go ahead and let's put that file in there with auth. And this isn't a component, so we don't need to capitalize this Axios word right here. So we have Axios with auth, and then if you continue to read our notes here, you can see we're going to have to build a private route component, and we're also going to have to build a pi page component. And let's think about what else we need. If we're going to build a private route, we're going to need a login and a sign up, right? Because we're going to need somebody to log in and go to this private Pi page. And then we're also going to need somebody to sign up. That way they can sign up an initial user. So now that we're thinking about our app, let's go ahead and let's build out a new file. And let's start out with our Pi page, right? So let's just go ahead and do that because we know for sure we need that one because it's right there in our notes. And we also know for sure that we need a login and a sign up because somebody has to log in to go to this private route. All right, and there's going to be a couple other components that we need, like our private route. Sorry, that should have been like the first one that I did, but oh well, because that was right there in our notes as well. And then I'm actually going to have a component that maps through the list of recipes that we're getting back from our API and pulls out specific things that I want. You guys have, of course, done this before. You've all accessed an API and mapped through the array and then pulled out specific pieces that you want that are coming back from that API. You've all done that before. It's not anything, it shouldn't be anything new at this point. So let's go ahead and let's build out another file, and we're going to name this Pi list. Okay, so we have a private route. We have our sign up, we have our login, we have a private route so that we can use this Axios with auth, and this private route only goes to the Pi page, or Pi page. I pointed to this one, but I meant this one. And then our Pi list maps through that array that we're going to be getting back from our API. So now that we've laid out our app and we've kind of thought about what we need and what we're going to do, let's go in and let's go back to our notes and then build an Axios with auth that gets the token from your local storage and gets the base URL for your API. So you guys have built out an Axios with auth before, so that shouldn't be too hard to implement here. But first, we're going to need to add some dependencies. I also have that in our notes. Dependencies, Axios, and we're also going to need React Router DOM. So let's just go ahead and let's import Axios, or not import, let's add Axios as a dependency, and then let's also add React Router DOM. Okay, so now that we've added our dependencies, which you should probably do first, I just wasn't thinking about it. If you ever get an error, so let's say I started building out my Axios with auth, and the first thing that I have to do is I have to import Axios from Axios. So if I did this without having this dependency, here, I'll show you guys. Oh, well, it won't do that because we're not calling Axios with auth. But later on down the road, you would get an error that says something like Axios is not defined, or like cannot call Axios if undefined, or something like that. That should be a big red flag to you guys, knowing that you didn't install Axios as a dependency. So if you ever get an error for any dependencies like that, like if it's ever saying that an import is undefined, it's probably because you don't have a dependency installed. Either that or you're not drilling down to the right file. But yeah, definitely pay attention to that. And there's going to be a lot of dependencies that you just need to have in your head to know to install. But if you ever get an error, that should be a big red flag that your dependencies are not installed. All right, so let's finish building out this Axios with auth. So we're just going to say export because I don't feel like putting another line down below. So we're just going to say export const, and then we're going to name this Axios with auth because that is the name of our file. I keep on wanting to say folder, but it is file. Okay, and then we're going to make this a arrow function here, and we're going to open up these empty parentheses, and we're not going to put any props in there, obviously. But then we're going to say inside here const token, and we're going to say equals local storage dot get item, and then we're going to say token. So this is going to get that token from your local storage. And then we're going to return. We're going to say return Axios dot create. And we're going to open this up. And we're going to say base URL. And this is just like syntax, like this is just what you have to do to get your base URL. And then we're also going to add a headers with authorization, and we're going to say that the authorization is with a token, because there's different types of authorization that you can use, but in this case, we're using a token. So our base URL, let's go look. I have it in the notes. So let's look, API docs, base URL. Oh, you can just copy and paste that. I would suggest reading over like all these notes before you start, because I got a lot of stuff in here. I have all the API documentation. I have this pie icon that we're going to use later on. I have the recipe object, and that's going to be important for when we're mapping through and pulling out pieces of our recipe object. And then I also have, if you want more information about the backend, you can follow this link. And I'm actually using a backend that I created for this project. So if you guys want to know more information, like if this doesn't make sense, like you're like, why do I have an ID and a user ID? Why is that a thing? You can just go here and I have more documentation on everything. All right, so let's get back on track. Let's post that in here. That's going to be our base URL. And what that means is instead of putting this in when you make a GET request or a POST request or a delete request, anything like that, when you make any Axios request, you just have the base URL here already. So you don't need to type in this whole thing and then /login or /register or whatever it is. You don't need to type in this whole thing every time. You can just type in /register when you make a Axios request later on, because this is your base URL. It will probably make a little bit more sense when we move on and we start making those Axios requests in other components. You'll see where this Axios with auth comes into play. So authorization, I feel like that is not spelled right. It's not. Authorization, there we go. I think that's spelled right. Yeah. And then we're going to say token, because we are using the token type of authorization in this app. And I'm just going to be fancy and put my semicolons here. And then we're going to save that. So boom, bada bing, bada boom, we got our Axios with auth that gets the token from local storage and sets the base URL for our API. So step 1 is done. So let's move on to step 2. Build a private route component. We did that because we did planning. And use it to protect the pie route. All right, so this is what is going to ensure that nobody can get into our pie route unless they are logged in, unless they have that token. So we're going to import React from React. Got to do that in all of our components. And then we're going to say import route. And then we're also going to import redirect from React Router DOM. Redirect, yeah. Okay. From React Router DOM. So what these two things are going to do, you'll see them later when I start typing out my component, but this is going to route it to the pie page, and then this is going to redirect somebody back to the login page or the home page if they don't have the token to log in. So if they're not authorized to log in, we're going to redirect them. But if they are, we're going to route them to the pie page. So I'm going to say private route. And then in here, I'm going to say component. Oop, if I can spell component today, goodness. Component. I'm going to say .rest. All right, and then here we're going to create this arrow function here. We're going to open that up. And we're going to make a return statement. And then in here is where we're going to do our route. I'm just going to go ahead and close this off and then put everything inside. All right, so we're going to pass in this rest here. Then we're going to go outside of there. We're going to say render props And then we're going to say if the local storage has a token in there. Oh, not that. Token. Then let them in. Give them access. Then we're going to say return the component. In this case, that component is going to be PyPage, but we're going to put props in here. And then we're going to close this off because we're closing that component there. And then we're going to make an else. We're going to open that up, and then we're going to say return. And then we're going to redirect here to the home page. Okay, so that was a lot. So let me explain a little bit about what this does. Let me format this real quick because it's a little confusing. There we go. Oh, I gotta export. Default private route. Okay, so I made this if-else statement in here that just says exactly what we want it to do. We want it to make a private route, and we want it to look for the token. If the token is there, then pass it to this component, which we're going to import this private route into the PyPage component later, and you'll see that working out. And then if they don't have the token, then we're having to redirect them to this slash, which is the home page, which is going to have our login form on it. So this is a little like weird right now. This may look a little odd, but I don't know why this did this. But we're going to use this later, this private route component. You'll see it being implemented wherever we don't want the user to go to. So we have to make sure that they have a token. But okay, anyway, let's move on. That was a lot of rambling. Okay, step 3. Oh, well, let's make sure we completed step 2. So build a private route component and use it to protect the PyPage route. So we haven't used it yet, but do I want to do that now? Let me think. I can't really do that because the PyPage really doesn't exist. Yeah, let's just leave that second part out for now. I might have to fix these steps so that they make a little more sense. But step 3, when you can log into the PyPage and the data renders, make a GET request and fetch the recipe data. So before we log in to the PyPage and we assign it this private route that we have to create a login, a sign up, and our PyPage, right? So none of that is built out yet. And of course, we have to complete step 3 before we make a delete request because there's nothing to delete. We don't have any data from this API yet. So let's go ahead and let's build out our login forms. Or form, it's just gonna be one form. All right, so you guys have built lots of forms before. So this is nothing different. This is just a normal form. Okay, and then let's do a use state from React. But we are going to have to make a post request in here so that somebody can log in. And in order to make a post request, we got to look at our documentation and see where we're making that post request to. This is where that base URL will come in. But I'll explain that when we get there. Import. Okay, so here we're going to have this Axios with auth in here because, like I said, we're going to be using that base URL for our post request. And then we're going to say .utils and then dash Axios with auth. Okay, so now, just like we have to with all of our forms, let's build out an initial state. Okay, and then when we log in, you know what? It would probably make more sense to do the sign up first, but we're going to go ahead and roll with what we have going. So when we log in, we need a username, password, and an is fetching, which is going to be set to false at the moment because we're not fetching any data right now. But you know what? I feel like it would probably make more sense to do the sign up. I'm going to comment this out. We're going to come back to this. Let's do the sign up first. I'm going to fix the instructions in the notes. That way they're a little more detailed for you guys in what to do first. Sorry if this is confusing. And you know what? I'm just going to go over to login and I'm going to take these because we need the same thing. And sign up as we do in login. And then I'm going to uncomment them out. All right, sorry people. Now let's get started with our sign up because people are going to have to sign up before they log in. And then let's pass in some props. And then in here, we're going to make our initial state as well. We're going to say sign up info. And then I'm going to say set sign up info. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was terrible. Okay. So now that we have our initial state set up here, let's go ahead and make these in our initial state as well, because we're going to need a name, an email, a username, and a password. I should probably have all this in the notes as well. But this is in the documentation that is inside of that GitHub link in the notes if you guys want to look into it. So here's what it requires for a user to sign up. So now we're going to create a handle change event. And in our handle change event, we're going to say set sign up info. And we're going to do what we always do. We're going to spread in our sign up info. That way we can have access to that initial state there. And then we're going to say e.target.name, and then that's going to access all of these inputs right here. And then we're going to go after here, and we're going to say assign it to e.target.value. And what this does is it assigns the value that the user types into these inputs. It assigns it to this whole thing, the whole form, the state. So it's just making whatever the user types in valid. Okay, we're going to close that off. I don't know why it's giving me. Oh, hold on. First of all, there we go. Yeah, make sure that when you do the spread operator, you have 3 dots, not 2. And if you want, you can console log your e.target.name and your e.target.value, but you don't have to, just to see what you're getting there. But you don't have to do a console log there if you don't want to. I'm going to leave it. Okay, and now we're going to make a handle submit. You can make it a handle change, whatever you want to make it. You can name it whatever, as long as you call it the same thing in your forms. I'm going to make it a handle submit. Oh, actually, you can't name this handle change. Duh. I don't know what I'm thinking today. Oh my goodness. Because this is changing. These are the inputs that will change, and this is the submit button. So when you submit your form, this is the stuff that you are going to want it to do. So make it something submit. My brain is not on right today. It's not even Monday. What am I doing? Okay, so here in our handle change, oh my gosh, in our handle submit, we're going to say e.prevent default, and that's just so that when we submit a form, it doesn't reload our page every single time. And then we're going to say set sign up info, and then we're going to spread in our sign up info again. And then we're going to say is fetching, oh, not like that, is fetching to true. Okay, so here is what is happening here. We're spreading in our we're setting our sign up info here, and then we're spreading in our sign up info here, and that is going to spread in all of the information that the user has filled in. So it's going to be able to sign up a user and make that information valid for when they log in. And then this is going to fetch our, actually, you know what? We really don't need this is fetching in here. I don't think. We're going to try it without it. I don't think we need that. Okay. And then in here, we're going to say Axios with auth. And we're going to say make a post request. So this is where I was saying before that we're going to bring in our Axios with auth from here, this base URL. And oh my goodness, we're going to look at the notes that we have, and we're going to look and see at our API documentation. So let's see, look at these posts. So we're signing up a user. So it looks like in order to post, we're going to have to add -auth-register to this base URL that we have right here, which we already assigned the base URL in the Axios with auth. So this way, we don't need to add this whole entire base URL with this in every single time we make a request. So in our sign up, in our post, we can just say -auth-register. And then we're going to pass in our sign up info. And then we're going to have this res, which we're not going to really use. That's okay. If you want to console log it, you can. But we're just going to say props.history. .push. There we go. All right. And that should push us back to the home page, the login page, once we are done creating our sign up. Emphasis on should there because I tried it earlier and for some reason it wasn't doing what I thought it should. It wasn't pushing me back to the home page, but we'll see. And then we're just gonna have this error here, and I'm actually gonna say error, and then I'm gonna say sorry. An error has occurred while signing you up. Put a nice little message there. All right, and then I'm going to format this that way it doesn't drive me crazy. And then let's start building out our form. All right, so inside of our return, I'm going to create a div. I don't know why Code Sandbox doesn't auto complete for me anymore. It's kind of annoying, but kind of nice. All right, and then in here, I made this cute little like protect the pies thing. At least I thought it was cute. And I just make this an H1. Oh goodness, what am I doing? H1. H1. Okay. Protect the pies. And then I'm going to do this image here, this icon that I have in the notes. It's a little pie icon. And then I gave it a class name of pie. And then we're going to have to style it a little bit later because it's going to be huge. Okay. And then let's go to our notes because I have this URL here. You can see pie icon that I use. you can just copy and paste that pie icon right here into the source. If ever these like icons don't work for you, you can always just go to Google and Google like pie icon, transparent background, and you'll get something. Sometimes I guess they take them off Google and they don't work anymore. But yeah. Okay. And then we're going to have finally our sign up form. So I'm going to make an H3 here. And then this is where I'm going to say sign up because this is going to be the top of our form. All right. And then form. And we're going to make a closing tag for that one. And then inside of our top of our form right here, we're going to want our on submit. And this is where we're going to do our handle submit. Why is that being weird? Did I spell something wrong? What? What is wrong here? Huh. Okay. I wonder if it's just because I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe it's just because I don't have any inputs in my form. I'm not sure. We'll try that. It's still throwing an error. Okay. Well, I'll have to. It's probably something very obvious that I just I can't tell. I have a div. I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and build out my inputs and I'll have to fix that later. I'm not sure why it's throwing me weird squiggly lines, but we'll figure it out. Maybe it's because I don't know. That's odd. Okay. Well, let's move on. So let's give it this a label of name and then an ID of name and then a name of name because that's going to be the name that we're pulling from our state. And then we're going to say, I'm going to give this a placeholder. And I'm just going to say name. They're all name. And then I'm going to say on change. And this is going to be handle change if this one works. I don't know. Yeah, that's being so weird. Oh, you know what? I bet I know why. Where is this ending? Not at the end of my return. That's why. Okay, hold on. Let me move this to the bottom of here because that's where it needs to go. There we go. Yay, I fixed it. Okay. Now we can officially move on without any errors. And you can see these are lighting up blue and these are no longer red squiggly. Yeah, make sure that your return is surrounded in the whole entire, right here, the whole entire sign up because it's gonna not be able to read things above that return if you don't surround it in that component. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but just make sure that you have a curly brace here that is connected to the one right here for your component. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to copy and paste this input. Actually, before I do that, I want to add a break here. That way my lines, my inputs are all separated. So I'm going to copy and paste this input and I'm actually just gonna paste it down here, and then I'm gonna change everything inside of the input. So like this will be email, this will be email, this will be email, email. You can say like @email if you want to. I don't know if you want to do that, but to like signify that people need to have an @ sign. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna up. And then this one's gonna be username, right? Name, email, username, yeah. Make sure you check your state, you're going in order. Username, username, oh, I could actually just do this, user. Okay, and then same thing. Oh, not before the break, after the break. All right, and then last category, password. Password, password, if I can spell it right. Password, okay. And then finally, I'm going to actually make 2 breaks here because I want it to be a bigger chunk of space in between my inputs, all of my inputs, and my button. So to add to that, what I just said, we're going to add a button here. And then this is going to be the sign up button. Sign up. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to make a, right underneath of your form, we're going to have a break. And then we're going to say, already have an account. And then this is going to link back to, oh, you know what? I think we're going to have to import link if it's not already imported. Oh, it's already imported. Look at me. Okay. We're going to have to import link back to our login page, because if somebody already has an account, you don't want them to sign up. You want them to log in. All right. Oh, and let's export. Defaults, sign up. Okay, everything looks good. So now let's move on. If you want to see your form, you can put it in your app.js and just to see it. But for now, I'm going to wait until we have our login built out, and then we can see it. So now that we have our sign up, let's build our login. So I'm going to say username and then password. And then we're going to say is fetching on this one, and we're going to set it to false. So there we go. So for now, all that somebody needs is their username and their password to log in. And then we have this is fetching because we only want it to fetch data after they log in, and then it's going to fetch all that API data. Okay, and then we're going to say const login. We're going to pass in our props here. Ooh, okay, and then we're going to say const. Then we're going to make our state here. We're going to say login, set login. Then we're going to have our use state. We're going to set that to our initial state. All right, and then underneath here, we're going to have, make sure that it surrounds, make sure you press enter and it surrounds everything. Okay, we're going to have our handle change. Handle change, okay, and I'm going to copy and paste our handle change from some handy dandy solution code I have over here. Because it's pretty much the same thing every time. You get the name and then you change it to the value the user typed in. Okay, And now here I'm going to have a handle submit, which is similar, but not exactly like the one that we have in signup. And then once again, we're going to say prevent default because we don't want it to reload every time. And then we're going to say set login. Once again, we're going to spread in this login. And then we're going to say is fetching. And we're going to say true. And we're going to have this Axios with auth. We're going to call that, and then we're going to make another post request. And let's look at our notes to see where we want this post request to be. So for this, we're going to log somebody in. So let's go to our API documentation, look at login, and look at that, /auth/login. And that's going to be, I keep on going to this one, that's going to be added onto this. So just pretend like it's auth-login, right? Like that's what we're typing essentially into that post request. But since we have this beautiful base URL, you don't have to type this whole thing in. So we can just do auth/login. And then if you want, you can just say login here. I think we can do that here, and that won't cause any issues. I don't know, maybe a little experiment, but you'll see oftentimes you'll pass in the username. And then let's just say, like, my username is Chelsea. And then let's say the password is, I don't know, 123 ABC. Like, you'll see that they'll actually pass in the username and password here. But yeah, I'm going to leave it that way just because my password and username is going to be that. But if you're following along and you don't want that, you can just do login, which, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to experiment with that. We're going to see how that works. Okay. So then we're going to get the local storage. We're going to make sure it has a token because we can't log a person in unless it has that token, right? So this is going to say response.data.message. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this is the part of the data that is the token. So we're setting the token to this response.data.message. It might be different in other people's APIs. Like you're going to have to look at the response that you're getting back and see where the token is. And it might tell you where the token is and what to assign it. Oftentimes it's probably like res.payload. It could be different, I'm not sure. But in my case, it's res.data.message. Okay, and then we're going to say props.history. And we're going to say push, and then we're going to push it to the Pi page. So after a user logs in, they can go, oh, not Pi equals page, Pi dash page. They can go to this Pi page, which is going to be that protected route with all the recipes. And then we're going to have our catch. We're going to say it error. We always need an error. Always need a catch. And then we're going to say error, comma, and we're going to say sorry, an error has occurred while logging you in. I think you've all probably seen this error before. It's a very common error message. Okay, we're going to make 2 semicolons and we're going to make sure to open to keep everything in this login component here. All right, and then we're going to make our return. And then I'm going to copy and paste some things. Oh, after I make a div. Gotta have a div. Okay, so all I did here was I just did that protect the pies with the little icon and then the login over your form. And that's the same thing I did for sign up. I just want it to look the same. That way when we switch between the login and the sign up page, it is like an easy transition on the eyes. So that's why I put all that in both of them. All right, and then after this, we make another div, actually. Hey. Okay. And then we're going to start building out our form. So we're going to say form. Form. And then we're going to open it up. And then inside of here, oh my, okay, we're going to start putting our inputs. So just for the sake of the fact that I don't feel like building out a whole nother form because we already did it on the sign up page, and I think you are all used to building forms now. I'm just going to copy and paste the inputs that I already have. And then I'm just going to click save. That way it formats it. So all I did here was I have a username, input for my username, and then I have an input for password, and I don't have a label on these. So here, I'm going to go ahead and add that. Oh my goodness. Okay. Label. Then username. And then label. Password. All right. I feel like I spelled label wrong. I totally did. There we go. All right. So now that we have these inputs built out, all we have to do is build a button. And then this button is just going to be our login button. And then underneath of our button, we're going to say login.isFetching. And then we're going to say and we're going to give it a nice little message here. Please wait. ... logging you in. And this is just going to create a nice little like, I don't know what you want to call it, loading state. And that's the only reason why we need this like is fetching, because we're just gonna have this loading state so that when people log in, there's just a little message that pops up while it logs you in. And then down here, we're gonna say don't have an account, question mark, and then we're gonna say this link. And then in here, we're going to make this link to the sign up page. Dash sign up. Sign up. Oh my goodness. Sign up. All right. And then, oh, we got to export it. I always forget that. That's why I do it at the top. All right. So now we have our, oh, we don't have our handle submit being used. Duh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't do that for the form, and I have to do that for the form. So in here, just like we did for our sign up, make it on submit, and then do that handle change. Or not handle change. Oh my goodness, handle submit. All right, now our form looks good. Everything's being used. Our handle change and our handle submit. Everything looks like it's good. We have all the inputs that we need. So now let's see it into play. So let's go to our app.js and start bringing these in and seeing them display on the page. So I'm going to get rid of this H1 here. We don't really need that anymore, even though thank you for watching. And then I'm going to make another like section right here for components that I'm importing. And then I am going to, oh, there's one more thing. In here, we need to import browser router. Browser router, and then we're going to say as router. And then we're going to also say route. We're going to say from, and this is coming from React Router DOM. Okay, so this is actually going to be helpful for us when we are doing routes and trying to redirect different, I mean, I know you guys have done this before, but redirect different pages to different routes. So that just means that in here, oh, hold on, you got to import them first. So let's import the components that we want. So in this case, we're going to want our login. And we're going to say from dot dash components, dash login, and then we're also going to want our sign up. So we're going to say import sign up from dot dash components dash sign up. Oh, wait, what? I have a misspelling in here, don't I? Ah! Oh my. Okay, so now in our app, I can import it correctly. There we go. So now in here, we can say router, and we can surround our whole entire routes in the router. And then in here, we're going to put our individual routes. So we're going to say route, and first we're going to have an exact path. And we're going to make the login actually be on the home page. So we're just going to say dash. If you want to have like, I don't know, a home page that has a bunch of fancy stuff on it, and you want your login page to be separate, like feel free to do that. You can definitely make a dash login route, but I'm just going to have the login on the home page. Yeah, oh, this is what I was saying about this being huge. So let's fix that. I think I give it a class of pi. So let's go into our style.css and we can do .pi. And then I think I made it 150 and 150. So just give it a width and a height of 150, and then it will shrink to a good size instead of being huge. Okay, now let's go back to our app.js now that we fixed our icon. And let's also import, or not import, let's also make a route for our sign up. So this is just going to be path. Make sure you don't give everything an exact path, otherwise it's going to mess you up. The only thing that you want to have an exact path is this home route right here. And we're going to make that sign up. And then we're going to say components. And we're going to give that the component of sign up, of course. Okay. So let me open this up big. So here's our beautiful login page. It's not going to do anything right now. I mean, it's not, you can type in it, but it's not going to log anybody in right now. And then if you click sign up, it should take you to this dash sign up route and give you your sign up form. And then when you go back to login, and that's why I added these both at the top of the forms. That way it was a smooth transition over. Oh my. Okay. Now let's go back to our notes and let's kind of look and see where we're at. So we created a login, but it's not getting anything from PyPage, right? We didn't get anything, any of the data from our API yet. We just have some forms built out. So our next step is going to be going into our PyPage components and start to build out this PyPage route that's going to link us to all of these recipes. And of course, this is going to be private route. So only the people who log in can get to this route. So I'm going to say import React from, oop, not that. Import React. And I'm going to have a use state and a use effect. Then I'm going to say from React. They're both from React. All right. And then after that, we're going to do, oh, what did I do there? Guys, I'm losing it today. All right, we're going to import our Axios with auth again because we need to make a GET request to get all of that data from our API. And then this is coming from our utils. Okay. And then I'm also, eventually, I'm going to need to build out the PyList that maps through. And I'm also going to build a Navbar eventually. That way we can log out. But I'm not going to do those right now, but let's just say components. That way we remember we're going to build a PyList component. Well, we already have it set up here, but we're going to build it out. We're going to have this PyList component that maps through all the data. And then we're also going to have a navbar that can log somebody out. So we're going to have a const PyPage. Oh, not that. And then we're going to create an arrow function, and we're just building out our component here. So we're going to have a PyList, set PyList. Oh, no, use state. Okay. We're going to set this to an array because we're going to be getting back an array of data. Okay, and then here we're going to have our use effect. And we're going to create an anonymous function here. We're going to open that up, and here's where we're going to have our Axios with auth. And then we're going to do just like we've been doing. We're going to create a GET request. That's where this .get. And then we're going to go into our notes, and we're going to say, all right, GET request, get all recipes. So it's dash recipes. So let's go back to our PyPage, and then dash recipes. Then we're going to say response. We're going to set PyList to our response data. And this is all stuff you guys are very familiar with. And then we're going to console log our PyList. So we'll get all those objects inside of that array. Okay, so after that, we need a catch. Always got to have a catch. Oh, I don't know why I opened that up. I don't have to open that up. We're just going to console.log. And then in here, we're going to say our error, of course, and then we're going to have a nice little message. Sorry, an error has occurred while retrieving. Can't spell today, so this is going to be duff. Oh my gosh, can't talk either. It's going to be tough. While retrieving the PyPage. Okay, so that's that. That looks good. Then inside of here, we're going to need our dependency array. And it always gives me an error here for some reason. I think it like wants me to pass in PyList, but that's not what we need to do. So we're going to say return. I'm going to have a div in here. Always got to have a div. And then in here is where we're going to, so this is going to be our main component, like our parent component for the PyList, and eventually our navbar. I'm just going to go ahead and add navbar.js because I want one now to log us out. So in our return, we're going to eventually have to bring in our pie list and our navbar. So I'm actually going to do that now. It's going to be a little weird, like it's going to throw you some errors. But I'm going to say import pie list from, be like .-pie list. Okay. And then inside of here, I'm going to have a little, not copy and paste this, a little h1. It says welcome to the pie page. And then that image with the little pie icon. And then down here is where I am going to call pie list, and I'm going to pass in a prop called pies. And this prop is actually going to be my array of all of the pie objects that are coming in, of all of the, it's going to be an array of objects, and those objects are going to be full of key value pairs that are the recipe data that is coming from my API. All right, why is this throwing me a funky error? Oh, because I didn't close this out. Okay, so now we have this pie list. So if we got all this data coming back, now we need to map through the data that's coming back. Export default pie page. Oh, I called it pie list here, didn't I? Yeah, that's not going to work. There we go. Oh, wait, no. Oh my gosh. That was right. Pie page is here. Export. Did I spell this wrong? I did. I always spell default wrong. Today I'm spelling everything wrong. Okay, there we go. There's everything. If you want to console log res.data here, you'll be able to see all the data that's coming back. It's probably not here. It's probably in our actual console, although I don't think it's going to be on our login page. Anyway, I'm going to put that back to pie list for now. Okay. And then in our pie list, we're going to build out our component, and we're going to map through all that data that's coming back from our API. Okay. So we're going to say Axios with auth. I'm going to say from bump, and this is from utils, so we're going to have to go one more out. Okay, and then we're going to say const pie list. We're passing some props because our props are that lovely pies that I passed in our pie page. And then in our return, we're going to have this div again. Always got to have a div in our return. And then in here, we're going to say props dot pies, because that's what I passed in on pie page pies. I passed in all this pie list right here, which is that array. And because it's an array, we have to map through it. And then we can just say that this is our banana word here, but I'm just going to say pie because that makes the most sense. You can say recipe, that would probably make sense as well. But that's your banana word. So whatever you are, and we got to have a div in this return. Whatever you are calling it right here after your map, just make sure that you refer to that when you are trying to get the pieces of the object. So for example, you're going to want a key. That way you don't get that annoying error that says each object in the array needs a key or whatever it says. You can put a key and then you can make that the ID. And in my notes, so since you can't really console log because I didn't call it in my app.js. I mean, you can if you want to, but I have the whole object here, what the recipe object contains. So it has an ID, a title, creator, ingredients. You know, this is kind of like your API documentation here. Well, it is. That's exactly what it is. So it has all of these things. And if you could take a guess, like this is the title of the recipe, this is the creator of the recipe, like it's very self-explanatory. These are the ingredients, directions, category, like dessert, lunch, dinner. You can ignore the user ID for now because we don't need that for this instance of the app. But the ID is what you're going to want to set the keys to. So I'm going to pull out the title, the creator, and the ingredients. So let's just go back to our pie list. And let's see. So I want to make the title an H3 because it's pretty important. And then this is where you can say pie.title. And then I'm going to make the other two p tags. So p tag, and then I'm going to say pie dot what was it, creator. If you ever need to look back at your notes to see like what is in there again, you feel free to do that. And then I'm actually going to put like by, that way it just says by and then the creator. I'm going to make another p tag. And then in here, I'm going to say ingredients. And this is where I'm going to say pie dot ingredients. Ingredients, okay. So now that we have this pie list, like we have it pulling everything out, it should be good. We just need to export it. So export, why am I doing that? Default pie list. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, so everything that we want is being pulled out when it's mapping through. So for each recipe, it's going to get the title, the creator, and the ingredients. All right, and now in our pie page, that calls our pie list. So we won't need to import pie list directly into our app.js. We can just import our pie page and pie list will come with it because it is the parent. So in our app.js, we can just import our pie page, and then we want to make sure that it's a private route so that people who are not logged in cannot access it. So let's do this. And instead of route, we have to make this private route. And then we're going to make this path pie page. And then we're going to make the component. Oh, I didn't import the component. Let me do that first. So import, and it's going to be pie page because pie list is in pie page. And then we're going to say dash components dash pie page. And then we can say component is pie page. Private route is not defined. Oh, yeah, duh. Okay, so we have to import private route because we built out this private route component. So we have to import private route from our components. And then that checks to see if a person has a token before it routes them to the pie page. If you remember building that out. Feels like a long time ago, but you can go back to your private route and see that that's what it's saying. It's making sure that we have a token before we push them to this pie page. So in our app, private route. Okay, so now we can go to our login. We can sign up, and I don't know, let's just say name, and then name at email.com. And then let's just do name, and then let's make password pass. Oh, I gotta fix that on my form. I gotta make that password, that way it comes up as like little dots. But then you can click sign up. Yeah, see, it was doing this to me earlier. It wasn't like pushing me back. I gotta fix something in there. But it should take you back to this. And then you should be able to log in as like name and then pass. This one actually has it so that it's little dots. I feel like I typed that wrong. Okay, that worked. Sort of. Okay, it's linking us to PyPage, which is good. But it's not going anywhere. Like PyPage, there's nothing on PyPage. So we probably have something wrong in here, I would imagine. Okay, I figured it out. I didn't have this dash right here in front of PyPage. So that's why it wasn't working. But now it is working. I was like, I have a token. I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. But that's why. So now if we log in as user, oh, it's going to make a liar out of me. Actually, it might be because we already have a token. Oh, goodness. Keep on typing pi equals page. Yeah, I wonder what will happen. Okay. Sorry, this is like a lot of steps to do, so it's hard to do it without running into errors. Okay, let's try this. User pass. I have to sign up again. I'm not sure. Sometimes weird things happen with the API. Chelsea. Chelsea, and then pass. Okay. So now when you log in after you sign up, you should be able to get to that Pi page there. I'm not sure why it won't go back and forth. Things are being a little wonky, but okay. The important part is we have this Pi page displaying, and it's displaying all of the data from our API. So let's go to our, oh my goodness. Let's go back to our app. And let's figure out how we can build a Navbar so that we can switch between this page and the login page. So this is pretty easy. You just have to import React from React because you're building out a component. And then you have to import link because you want it to link back to your home page. Okay, and that's from React Router DOM. And then you can go in here, build out your Navbar. And then return, oops. And then create a div. All right, inside of this div, we're gonna have a link. and we're going to link it to our home page. Oh, this needs a ending tag. I always forget that it's not self-closing. All right, and then we're going to say log out because it's like a button almost. It's a button, that's a link. And then we're going to say export default without spelling it wrong this time. We're going to say navbar. And then in our Pi page, we're going to import navbar here. So I'm going to import navbar from navbar. And then here we're going to do navbar. All right, now if you look, you'll have this log out and it will take you back to the login page. So now I'm going to have you guys delete a recipe. So we're going to have to build out a delete function in our Pi list. That's why I have Axios with auth here, because it's actually another request. So it's just a delete request, like we have a post request so that you can like log in and log out. And then you also have a put request so that you can edit things. And then you also have a delete request so that you can delete things. And then you have a get request so that you can get data from somewhere. So in this case, we're just going to build out a delete request. So we're going to go in our Pi list, and then we're going to start to build out a delete recipe function here. So we're going to say const delete recipe, or you can say delete Pi if you want, even though they're not all Pi's. And then you can open this up, and then we're going to say Axios with auth. That's why I imported it here. And then here we're going to make our delete request. So instead of .get or .put, it's just going to be .delete. And then in here, we're actually going to surround it in backticks because we're going to want to access the ID. So, and we're going to want to put this underneath of our map up here because we're going to want this Pi. That way we can just grab the ID. We don't want the whole array. We just want the ID from each object. So we're going to say delete, and then we're going to say recipes dash, and then it's going to be a money sign. And it's going to say pi.id. Then we're going to pass in Pi as well. Okay, so if you look in our notes, you can see delete, and then I have recipes dash ID. So delete specific recipe for a user. So that's exactly the endpoint that we're going to need. I might have to add that slash in there. Hold on, let me go back to the Pi list. Let me add that slash in there. Okay, so now we're going to have our then. I'm going to say res in here, and we're just going to console log our response. And this should console log the deleted item. Response from our .delete. And then we're just going to say res. And then after that, we're going to have a catch. We're going to have an error. And then we're going to console log. And we're just going to say error. And then we're going to have our message that says, sorry, could not delete recipe. Sad face. You wanted to delete it and now you can't. All right, so everything in here looks good, although I've been saying that and then I always run into an error, so we'll see. But we need to put this delete recipe in an on click. So we're going to want a button for each recipe because we want to be able to delete each recipe. So let's have button, and then inside of our button we're going to have delete, and then in here we're going to have an on click, and then it's an event, equals event. We're going to open that up, and then we're going to say e dot stop application. Actually, you know what? Comment that out. I don't want that there anymore. I'm going to do delete recipe. So I'm going to call this delete recipe function that we have down here. And then I'm going to pass in my pi. And then that looks good, actually. I think that's all that we need. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. So let's give that a whirl. Let's go into here. And let's try to delete a recipe. So let's delete, I don't know. These all sound so good. Let's delete waffles. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I think you have to reload the page and then it will delete. Yeah. So I thought that the stop propagation would make it reload. And there is a way that you can have it so that you don't need to reload for it to delete a recipe. But I am not going to try to figure that out right now. I've done it before in the past, but I'm not going to go into detail about that. If you guys want to figure out how to delete a recipe without it reloading or without having to reload, like feel free to dig into that. I don't think it's probably that hard, but it's something I've always had an issue with. So give that a try. I'm going to fix this sign up form real quick, and I'm going to make the password a password type. Okay. I feel like, all right, let's try that. Let's try typing. Yay, okay, that did what I wanted to. And then for some reason, after we sign up, this does not push you. Oh, okay, now it just did. All right, it works now. When I don't have anything in the form, then it decides to work. Here, let's give this a try. Let's start all over. Let's see if the whole app works now. So let's go in here and let's actually delete this token in here. That way it shouldn't access this pi route anymore. So let's test it out. Let's do dash pi page. And it shouldn't. Yeah, it'll push you back to the login, which is exactly what we needed to do. So let's go into sign up. Let's log me in. Actually, not log me in. Let's sign me up. Let's create a user named Bruce. Bruce at Yahoo. He's a Yahoo fan.com. And then let's do Brucey. And then we're going to make his password Bruce. Very creative. We're going to sign him up. Ah, it works. Change your password. It's like, changed your password. I didn't have a password for that one. Brucey. And then Bruce. Ah, it all works the way I want. Yes, go ahead, change my password. And then this probably still doesn't work the way I want it to. No, okay. Well, we'll have to figure that out. I will probably put it in the solution code if I can figure it out, but I'm going to leave that little challenge up to you guys. That way I can give you something extra to do with this. So one takeaway that you can take from this is in your pi list, make it so that, here, challenge, make it so you do not have to reload the page when you delete a recipe. All right. But besides that, guys, that is it. That's the whole functionality of our app. I mean, this was great. It was fun. I ran into some errors, but with an app that has a lot going on, like this one does, like there's just a lot of components and, um, live coding like this, well, not really live, but recording coding challenges can be difficult like this. So I apologize for all of the errors that I ran into, and I hope that they were helpful to see and to work through with me, even if it is just a dash before your pie page in app.js. These are definitely issues that everybody, I think, runs into, those silly little mistakes. So I hope you guys learned a lot, and I hope that this is helpful to you in the future. And yeah, have a good evening, night, morning, whatever it is in your time zone. Have a good one. Bye.